morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of the day it is that you're tuning in. Welcome to another episode of the Resilience Rising Podcast with me, Naturally Cinnamon. I am a therapist, life coach, resilience cultivator, and the founder and CEO of Jamila Wellness LLC, where women go to be well and live beautifully. You can find us at resiliencerisingpodcast.com. You can also send in your questions, topics, comments, and feedback at resiliencerisingpodcast@gmail.com. Like this, love this, share it, rate it, comment, but most important, make sure that you're subscribed and following. Here's another episode. Hope you enjoy. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Resilience Rising Podcast. I hope you had a wonderful Memorial Day. Ours here in South Florida, well, in Miami-Dade County, wet, gloomy, very, very wet, lots of rain, but that's thanks to, I think it's a tropical storm or depression, Alberto, I think is the name of it. That's, out near us, so we're getting some of those effects, but that's okay. I'd like to share a poem that I found about Memorial Day. So for those of you who may have lost a loved one while they were serving in the military, I'd like to read this. It's a poem by Emily Toma. And it says, on this Memorial Day, remember those who served before. Remember those who are no more. Remember those who serve today. Remember them as we eat and play. Remember our protectors who are not home today. Remember them all on Memorial Day. So I just wanted to let you know that we do remember them, and we share in your memories of your loved ones. So let's get into today's episode. Before we get started in the topic, I want to talk about some wins, some L's, and some, I don't know. I'll share mine with you during this past week. A win is that I recognized I was overwhelming myself with just too much work. Like I've told you guys before, I have 2 sole proprietorships, but I also have a business partnership as well. And in each of the sole proprietorships, I have different types of clients. In one of those, I have business clients, and the other, I have mental health and life coaching clients. And so I got a lot going on, So I did want to sometimes I take on so much and I make it my responsibility to make sure everybody's okay. And I realized that I was very overwhelmed by the to-do list, by my to-do list, their to-do lists, and just making sure everyone was okay, that I started missing out on following up on a couple of emails and even a couple of phone calls. And I actually exploded on one person that I did follow up with email and I did follow up with the phone call, and they didn't check their email for like 2 weeks and tried to say to me, well, you didn't do your part. And I lost it. I absolutely lost it because I was so angry. I was overwhelmed with all the to-dos that I was basically being too hard on myself about the couple of things that may have slipped through my fingers or slipped my mind, that the one that didn't slip my mind, I was not going to let you put that on me. Like, oh no, ma'am, you are not about to sit here and say what I didn't do when I know this is one of those things I did check off my to-do list. So I was a little bit rude but I realized in that moment I need to get some help. And by help, I mean a virtual assistant. So when some of the things come up on my to-do list, I can reach out to now my virtual assistant and I can literally just pass it to her and say, okay, I need you to handle this. Okay, I need you to handle this. And I've met her, we had a meeting and I met her, and she's so on top of things and I kind of love it. So that's a win for me. The win is that I recognize I needed to hire some help. And the other win is that I've been paired with a wonderful virtual assistant. And yeah, that's my win for the week. If you'd like to know what company that I've used, I'm absolutely willing to share that information. So you'll have to inbox me, DM me, email me, whatever you want to do, and ask me what company that I went with for virtual assisting and administrative assistance. So that's my win. My L for this week. It's kind of in the same vein, but a little bit different. I had a potential client, I guess. Well, I had someone reach out to me through my website, jamilawellness.org, asking for a consultation. And what I do is I do consultations with all potential clients. And the first thing that we need to do is recognize what kind of client you would be, or what we think you actually need. Because some people come for therapy and what they actually need is coaching, and some people come for coaching but what they actually could benefit from is therapy. So we kind of break that down to make sure, first of all, that you are getting paired with who you need to be paired with for your actual needs. And so we always do a consultation, which costs nothing, as we move forward. But this particular young lady, she would have benefited from a different type of therapy situation. But because she so much wanted to work with Jamila Wellness, I went outside of my professional opinion and I was like, okay, I'm going to meet with you. And I knew that wasn't the right thing to do. I knew that in the back of my mind that I was like, no, I really need to refer her to where she needs to go. But she was just so gung-ho. So my L for the week is that I allowed someone else's desires and what they wanted or felt that they needed to cloud my professional judgment of what I knew what they really needed in that moment. And so that's my L. That's my L. And I will definitely be, like I said, it's a holiday weekend, but I will definitely be circling back to her as soon as business hours open again. So that's my L for the week. And the I don't know is I got a lot of sleep this weekend. I mean, a lot of sleep. And I don't know if it was the stormy weather that just put me on the couch and put me to sleep or whatever, but I got a lot of sleep. I mean, I had some events that I had planned to go to for the weekend, some to support some other people. One was a business event. And because of it, there were 3 different events. 2 out of 3 were outdoor. So those 2 got postponed to a later date because of the tropical depression that we're having right now. And the one that didn't get canceled, I did go to, but that left my entire remainder of the weekend just wide open. So I had no plans, and I took full advantage of having no plans. And I cleaned out my DVR. I hadn't realized that I had been missing like 3 and 5 weeks of certain episodes. There are shows that I watch that had their season finales, but I had to go back 5 episodes to catch up to get to the season finale. I didn't even realize it had been that long since I sat down and went through my DVR to watch my shows. So I did that, but of course I fell asleep. I was in and out of sleep. I did a lot of sleeping. So I don't know if that is my body telling me, girl, you needed to catch up on some sleep, because I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I sleep at night. I don't have an issue falling asleep at night, and I don't have an issue staying asleep at night. I get my sleep, but the way I've been sleeping during the daytime as well as the nighttime, I don't know if my body is telling me, thank you, we needed to catch up on some sleep, or if I just did way too much sleeping and I'm gonna pay for that later. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. We'll know later, on the next episode or whatever. But I did have somebody, and this is a win for me, win for Resilience Rising Podcast. We had somebody on Instagram share her wins, L's, and I don't knows. And this is coming from, on the Resilience Rising Podcast Instagram account. This is coming from Miss Chris 23X. Miss Chris 23X. A win is that she's still motivated for this small startup. Okay, so my assumption is, and for those of you who may not know exactly who this is, I'm going to tell you who this is she was the Hey Gorgeous episode in March 2018. So you could go back to that episode. I want to say it was episode 5, if I'm not mistaken. that Crystal Pearson of Feed Some Folk Project, this is her, and that she's still motivated for the small startup. Now, Miss Chris is starting a second arm to her business. It's either a second arm to the business or it's a second business. But it's a startup right now. So she's doing a lot. She's in planning mode. She's in research mode and gathering all her, bits and pieces and all the moving parts to make this thing work and be ready to launch. And so her win is that she's still motivated. Let me tell you all, if anybody has started a business or is in startup phase of running a small business, you go through moments where you're like, never mind, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe this isn't something I'm really supposed to be doing. Because there's some moments that are hard. They are difficult. So the fact that she's still motivated, that's a win. And we celebrate with you, Miss Chris. And L is that she had to amend the business name because of one important marketing factor. And she's glad she caught it early. That, she says, is an L as far as a lesson. I would like to submit, if you will, please. I'd like to make a motion that we move that L to another win, because that is a lesson, yes, but the win is that you learned it. So I think we can put that in an L and a win. So we got 2 wins for you, Crystal, plus an L under lesson. So you doing it, girl. You doing it now. Now her I don't know was that she realized the name of the business was misleading for the target market. But it takes her back to the win and the L, actually, because she said she caught it before it was too late. Kudos. I don't have a round of applause button because I'm not a sound engineer and I don't do all of that, but I'm going to clap for you because all of those are great. And she really caught on to what it is that I'm incorporating in each episode, the wins, the L's, and the I don't knows. Send them in to me so that we can celebrate with you your wins, your L's, and your I don't knows. Because the I don't knows, as you can see that happened to Crystal, actually circled back to the win. Her L is both the L and a win. So kudos to Crystal. You rocking it out, baby. You doing it. Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So those are our wins, L's, and I don't knows for this episode. And now let's get into some red table talking.
Hashtag put it all on the table.
On the red table.
On the red table. We about to red table that.
So for those of you who may not know what Red Table Talk is, it is a Facebook Watch show by, I think it's executively produced by Jada Pinkett Smith, and also on the show will be her mom Adrienne Norris and her daughter Willow Smith as well. On this week's episode, it featured a conversation between Jada and Gabrielle Union as they were talking about, being friends. And apparently there was some unspoken tension between the two of them that they don't even know how it got started, and it lasted for approximately 17 years. And basically what they were talking about was how, they were talking about a few things, basically. One of the things that I noticed was that Gabrielle Union said that, at the time you think that not that you're forcing a relationship, but that, keeping yourself away from someone for whatever reason won't hurt you, but in the long run it does, because you've potentially missed out on, even if you don't spark into a friendship, you missed out on whatever presence that person brings to your life, whatever lessons that could be learned. How they say people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. If you cut yourself off from receiving those people in your life, you'll never know if there was a reason for them, if there was a season for them, or maybe that could have been a lifetime friendship that you just cast away and you don't even know why years later. So I thought that was a pretty cool nugget of wisdom. And there was also a point where, as they were talking, I noticed that it kind of seemed like they were both trying to figure out, so what do we talk about? So where do we start and where do we go from here? And they talked about wearing fear as a comfort and acknowledging who you are as a person, and that you will then know who it is that you're bringing into relationships with other people, be it with a friend, be it with a partner, at work, wherever, at church, wherever you're in relationship with people, knowing who you are and knowing what you're bringing in to that communication with another person does make a big difference. For example, Gabrielle Union was saying how she realized that she couldn't name 10 things that could make her happy, and she couldn't name 3 things that could make her happy. So if she was not happy within herself, there was no way she was going to be able to find happiness in relationship with another person. And of course, this isn't present, this is the past. These are things that she's learned over time. She also shared how she had to learn how to say no. Say no. You can't be the superwoman. You can't be the super friend. You can't be the super wife, the super mom, the super professional, whatever your profession is, the super daughter, the super sister, the super niece, the super cousin, the super granddaughter. You can't be super everything and then have no time or energy left for yourself. I spoke in a past podcast about what it's like to be drained of energy for people who maybe have depression, what it's like to be drained of energy. And, there's a blog on the website, jamilawellness.org, that's titled When My Cup is Empty. It's a very recent blog. You can go read that. I'll leave the link in the notes to this episode. But it's about, when you've poured out so much that you've got nothing left. Not even for yourself, but you don't even have anything left to give to someone else. So she talked about the power of saying no, just saying no to other people so that you can have enough of you to rebuild you so that you can have something of you to offer to those that you need to offer to. We can't say yes to everything at work because, every time you say yes, it's less of you for something else. So is your yes worth the less? Like every time I say yes to everything at work, that's leaving less of me for something or someone else that I might need to spend more time on, that something or someone else than what's going on at work. So that's just a few nuggets. Let me tell you, you've got to go watch the episode. If you're, this is just a snippet of Red Table talking, but it's going to lead right into our topic for today, which is don't let people keep your change. These women could have allowed some external influence that they can't even identify all these years later to keep them from growing and maturing into the women that they are today. But they decided not to let that happen. And they both did acknowledge that it's hard work. It doesn't feel good, but it's necessary. And in the long run, in the end, it's worth it. So let's take a minute and talk about that. We're going to go into our topic for today. So that's our red table talking for this episode. Really brief, but y'all catch up. Which brings us into our topic for today, which we haven't done one of these in quite a while, but we're coming back to it, and that is a Woman Law Wednesday. Yup, that's right. I know. Some of y'all thought I dropped Woman Law Wednesday off a side of the cliff or something. I didn't. She took a break, but she's back. She's back today. And she decided to bring with her one of her old favorites. So we're going to welcome Woman Law Wednesday. She reached all the way back. For those of you who don't know, for any new listeners that I may have, Woman Law Wednesday was my original Facebook Live show that lasted for 2 seasons before I decided to roll it into the Resilience Rising podcast. And the season 1 had 10 episodes, and I think season 2 got as far as 7 episodes. So you could go back and check hashtag Woman Law Wednesday and look at some of those. But we're going to revisit one that comes all the way back to season 1, the 3rd episode. And that's called Don't Let Others Keep Your Change. And this kind of rolls in with the red table talking that we just did. So don't let others keep your change. So as you know, I love to tell a story. I'm a person that likes to swipe plastic. Am I alone? I know I'm not, but I just asked that hypothetical question just to make sure, to make myself feel better about knowing that I wasn't alone, because I know I can't visually see anybody lifting their hands to say me too. So I'm just going to tell myself that I'm not alone. I'm a plastic kind of girl, that I like to swipe my card. I like to insert the chip. I like to type in my debit card number, looking around, making sure ain't nobody looking over my shoulder and stuff. I do that. I'm one of those people. But there are a lot of people that work with cash. And let me tell you, there are benefits to that for those of us non-cash carrying people. There are benefits to that because it really keeps you on a budget. So, but I digress. But I was in the store one day because, of course, again, I'm a plastic girl. I was in the store one day and I noticed that, a young lady in front of me, a lady in front of me was paying for whatever she was paying for. And she had her child with her son. And so she tells the lady behind the counter, keep the change. And the son was like, The son was like, nah, mom. Like, no, if you're going to give away change, you could give it to me. And so he wanted the change. I mean, he didn't throw a big temper tantrum or anything like that. And he didn't draw attention to himself. But I remember him like, Mom, I could keep it. And she was like, no, let the lady keep it. And then they just walked out the store. And of course, here I come up behind them with my little piece of plastic card. So, that was the end of that. But it made me stop and think how often people may say, keep the change, keep the change. Now, my guy friend and I decided to start saving change, which of course pushed me to use cash. We have a little jar that every time he comes over, he puts the change in the jar. And then, if I have change, I put it in the jar and we just keep letting it go until it fills up. And then, I'm going to be honest with y'all. Don't tell him I said that, even though he listens to this too. I would go to the bank and ask them for can I get so-and-so amount of money in coins, please? And then I'd go and rip the thing open and dump it in and acting like I, really did some coins. He knows how to use plastic. Look, I am who I am. I'm unapologetically me. I swipe a card. That's what I do. I'm not big on carrying cash. But I didn't want to not contribute into what we were trying to do. What's funny is I counted it one day. It had gotten full and I was like, well, I wonder what's in here. So I dumped it all out and I sat on the floor and counted everything. There was over $100 in there. And I just looked at it I thought about the lady in the store with the son when she said, keep the change. And I wondered how often we say to someone, just keep the change. Or we tell somebody, keep the change. And then I was like, but if I don't allow other people to keep my change, look how much change. In other words, look how much change I was giving out. Look how much change I was putting in the hands of somebody else. Wow. Interesting. So I kept rolling that thing around in my mind, right? And I started to shift gears as it pertains to the word change. And I started looking at change to mean growth, maturity, a change of status, a change of location, a change of mindset. Put a pin in there. There was a previous episode that I did that some people had asked me to do this topic on changing your mind. And that was a difficult topic, but we covered it. So go back and look into that. That's one of the first episodes, 4, 5, 6, somewhere around there. But it's called I Changed My Mind. So, okay, let's bring it back. So I started looking at change of growth, maturity, mindset, status, location. Now, the only constant is change. That's the one thing we can count on in this world, that some things will change, that things will change. There will be a change of something. That's the one thing we can absolutely count on in this world. And so if I keep giving other people my change, when I give people my change, it belongs to them. Something that belongs to you, you have the influence over. You have the control, if you will, over. You have, I like the word influence, so I'm gonna stick with influence. You have influence over that. So if I give you my change, you can decide what happens to it, if anything happens to it. So if I give you my ability to grow, my ability to mature, then I'm giving you the ability to influence whether or not I grow and mature. And when that thing hit me, I was like, whoa, wait, hold on, wait a minute. I don't know how I feel about that. Constantly being concerned with other people's thoughts and opinions gives them the control over any change you may or may not encounter. Constantly trying to bend yourself and tweak yourself to suit someone else instead of making the changes and growing and maturing the way you need to, and changing your status or location or mindset the way you need to make the better you, or to do what you need to do to satisfy yourself. If God is telling you to go left, but the people that you've given control over your change to are telling you to go right, which way are you going to go? Which way you go? I would like the ability to make the decision whether or not I'm going to follow people or whether or not I'm going to follow God. I would just at least like to make sure that I have the ability to make that decision. But if I have given my change over, if I've given my control over to somebody else, then it's their decision. No. I don't think I want to throw around the term keep the change like that. If it's money and I feel like it's 2 pennies and it's not that big of a deal, that's fine. But if it's a small decision on whether or not I'm going to go to this self-help seminar because I don't want to go by myself and you don't want to go with me, I'm giving that person the right to make the decision on whether or not I go. No. Don't let other people keep your change. Don't let other people keep your change. Tell yourself it's my change. It belongs to me. When you start owning the responsibility that is your change and it belongs to you, you start to relinquish how other people's feelings and thoughts can influence you making the change you need to make. There was something, I'm going to paraphrase this, but there was something I saw. I was having a conversation with somebody and it was like, it's funny how the only people that get upset with any change that you're making are the people who can't manipulate you anymore. And I'm completely paraphrased that, but it was something to that effect of saying, when you make a change in your life, the people who were in your life that have a problem with it only have a problem with it because they can't get from you what they've been getting from you anymore, because you went and made a change. You took back your power that you gave to somebody else by allowing them to have your change. I hope you're following me. I hope you're able to follow this. Don't let other people keep your change. See, we shifted it away from a financial aspect and put it back in the hands, in our own laps and in the hands of ourselves. Don't let other people keep your change. If there's a change you need to make, don't leave that up to be influenced by somebody else. Do what you need to do to make your change, to better yourself for yourself, for your children, for your spouse, for, whatever you need to do. Don't let other people keep your change. If I had let other people keep my change, I never would have gone back to college and saw it through. I had to make several sacrifices. I quit a full-time job and took a part-time job, which meant all my benefits were gone. My 401k that I had started, nobody was pouring into that anymore. And basically I had a part-time job and I was going to school, but I think it was like 30 miles away from home. So that's a 60-mile round trip. That's a lot of gas. So my little part-time check was going right into the gas tank and into my belly because I had to feed myself. I had a few friends that were like, girl, I don't know about that. I don't think you should do that. Well, maybe you should just go to school part-time. Or what if you just get a certificate? I don't know, because that job is a good job. I know people who worked there and retired well, and da 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 da. I mean, all this other, and they meant well, because that also meant that I wasn't going to be as available for them anymore. They meant well, but no, I'm not giving you the right to keep my change. I'm not giving you my change. I have my change, and I'm deciding what to do with it. So that's the Woman Law Wednesday message for today. Don't let others keep your change. It's time for the Spirit Support segment, when we take a moment to feed our spirit. Brought to you by Jamila Wellness, where women go to be well and live beautifully. Hi, everybody. I want to share with you one of my favorite stories from the Bible, as I do love different stories and I like the parables and things. But this particular story is in Mark chapter 5, and actually the really cool part of the story starts in the end of Mark chapter 4. And this story is a series of short stories, so that's why I like it. But I'll just run through it with you really quickly. Again, it's Mark chapter 5, so you can look it up, you can read it. But my favorite entire passage starts at the end of Mark chapter 4, where the story of Jesus is on the boat and the seas get really, really rocky, and the other sailors on the boat are kind of trying to figure things out. And so they finally wake him up, and he was asleep, and that's when he says, where's your faith? I mean, think about it. Jesus is on the boat. Was he really gonna let everybody perish? I don't think so. But he finally told the wind to basically chill out. Like, he told the storms, listen, just chill, calm yourself, relax. So in chapter 5, they arrive at the destination that they're going to. Now, as soon as Jesus gets off the boat, there's this madman with the legion of demons that comes to him. And that's the short story about him casting the legion of demons into the herd of pigs, and the pigs go crazy and they jump off the cliff into the water and they drown and die. Then right after that happens, he's approached by this man named Jairus. I think I'm saying his name right, but I'm going to call him Jairus because that's the way I think it's pronounced. And his daughter was sick, and so he's like pleading with Jesus to please come see about my daughter. She's really sick. So Jesus is like, okay, fine, I'll go. And this crowd comes around him and starts following him wherever he goes. So on the way there is when he's surrounded by all these people, and the woman that had the issue of blood for 12 years, like she was hemorrhaging, comes and touches the hem of his garment seeking healing, and he stops to address her. And so I could just imagine at this point Jairus is like, okay, this is all well and good, but my daughter, she's really sick, she's dying, I really need you to come on. So he heals the woman with the issue of blood for 12 years. And while he's then goes back into his journey towards Jairus's house, Jairus is met with messengers that came to tell him, your daughter has died. In the meantime, since you've left to come get Jesus, to come to your house to see about your daughter, she's passed away. So you know what? You may as well just leave him alone. Let Jesus go along with what he was going to do anyway, and just leave him alone. Let's just go and deal with burying your daughter. And Jesus is basically like, look, Jairus, don't listen to them. Let's go. Let's keep going to your house. So they keep going anyway. And when they get there, people are just wailing and crying and more in mourning and preparing for all the funeral arrangements, and going to buy the fried chicken, and who's going to bring the sodas, and where are we going to have the repast, and what funeral home's going to get the body. You know how we do. When somebody passes away, you just jump into action, and there's the screaming, the crying, and the planning. And that's all this commotion and chaos is happening when they get to Jairus's house. And Jesus is like, can you send them away, please? Can you, go away? And I'm sure there was a lot of confusion, because they're like, we don't understand. What are you doing? She's already gone. It's already over. Well, Jesus orders Jairus to tell them to go ahead and leave. Jairus tells everybody to leave. And then Jesus walks into the room where the little girl's body is. And he's like, she's not dead. She's just sleeping. And he's so casual about it. I just love how he's so casual about things. He's so casual about it. He's like, she's not dead, she's sleeping. And then he says what is one of my favorite phrases, my favorite 2 words, Talitha Kumi, which translates into little girl, get up. Basically, like, damsel arise, little girl, come on, get up. Come on, baby girl, get up. And she gets up. And he basically tells them, don't go running your mouth about this. Don't spread, this is your personal business. You don't have to spread your personal business. Just give her something to eat and, go on about your lives. I love that whole passage because how many times have we found ourselves in situations where the circumstance seems to be sick and on life support and about to die, and we just waiting on Jesus. We just waiting on, Lord, I've been praying. Lord, I've fasted. Lord, I done cried out for you. I done cried out to you. I have my sleepless nights. If you haven't been going to church, you just started going back to church. You call people. I need you to pray for me. I done showed up to Bible study. You've done things, you've gone and sought Jesus, and in the midst of you waiting for Jesus, it seems like that situation that was already on life support just goes ahead and just went ahead and died. And there are going to be people around you that are going to be like, girl, look, just let that go. Dude, just, drop that off. It's okay. Just, hey, things like this happen. But just keep waiting on Jesus. He's coming. He is coming. Even if he shows up after the situation has already died, he can breathe life into it in a way that we never thought he could. Just hold on. So that's all I want to plead to you. And I'm speaking to your spirits right now. Hold on. Call out for Jesus. Wait for him to come. Go to him and let him come to that situation when he needs to, how he needs to. You may need to get the people that are in your ear telling you, don't worry about it. It's just these things happen. So you lost your house. That's okay. Those things happen. The bank is going to take your car. These things happen. This health situation, this report came from the doctor. These things happen. You have no idea how close God is to breathing a new type of breath and a new type of life into that situation. So my message to you today is just hold on. He's coming. Hold on, sis. Hold on, my brother. Just hold on. Thanks for tuning in to Resilience Rising with Naturally Cinnamon. Life has a way of tossing unexpected trials and circumstances our way. We can't stop them, but we can better handle them by raising our resilience. Remember, you can find us at ResilienceRisingPodcast.com, on Instagram at Resilience Rising Podcast, and you can also send in a question or topic for this podcast by emailing us at ResilienceRisingPodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to like this podcast, love it, share it, rate it, and comment, but most important, make sure that you've subscribed and that you're following. I'm Naturally Cinnamon. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Creative Director Jeremy Key for J Key Collective. Music by AJ Miles.